One of the major plot lines of this movie involves people turning into these mindless drones with none of their previous personality or talents on display, which ironically might be a great metaphor for Bruce Willis's career over the last 10 years. So let's talk about it. Hi, my name is Sean, and I love to talk about movies way too much. With that in mind, go ahead and join me down below in the comments section if you've checked out Cosmic Sin. Let me know what you thought about it, or is there anything from the last 10 years that Bruce Willis has done that you've actually enjoyed? With that said, let's go ahead and dive straight into this one with the good. First thing that comes to mind is I wasn't bored while watching it. There's plenty of pew pew pew, pow 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 throughout the entire runtime, with people shooting ray guns and zombie-like creatures and aliens showing up.
Cool.
And all sorts of portals and stuff that are kind of amusing. Second positive on this one is that the visual effects and some of the production design were better than I was expecting. There were things where I was like, that actually looks pretty good for a direct-to-video sci-fi action adventure film. There's a few things that didn't look so good, but for the most part, it actually exceeded my expectations for what these movies normally deliver in that department. That's about it.
I got a bad feeling about this.
Let's move on to the bad. This is a tremendously bad film.
Oh, this is bad. This is really, really bad.
It's basically a hodgepodge of plot lines from iconic sci-fi films just thrown together with nothing distinct to add to the mix. Just a cheap version of things you've seen many times, much better. The plot line involves, we make first contact with aliens, but they're bad. Okay, we've seen that many times before. You've got basically space zombies. So the first contact leads to basically a zombie type situation happening in the movie. But the way they function is like the Borg from Star Trek. And in which case, it's kind of zombies, kind of the Borg. Nothing particularly original about the way it plays out. The plotline involves space travel across the universe. It doesn't have a Stargate, though it's a circle to travel through the stars. No, it's called a space gate. It's the exact same thing as a Stargate from Stargate, but no, this is called a space gate. And, there's not a ton of direct references to the movie Event Horizon, but they say Event Horizon. It's in the context where it feels like, remember the movie Event Horizon? Event Horizon. I understand that it is a term that refers to something, but the way it was used without any context or anything seemed like they just wanted to say Event Horizon in this movie. So just a bad version of a bunch of iconic classic sci-fi films.
That's awful. Just awful.
And where it gets kind of weird is that you have a cast here that's pretty good in theory, at least on paper. If the movie had a budget, you'd be like, oh, that could actually be pretty good. You have Frank Grillo, who does an enormous number of projects. 1 week ago, he was in a movie called Boss Level that I thought was a ton of fun. I had a blast. It's on Hulu. And then this one comes out 1 week later. And if you're just casually, superficially looking, might seem like they're in the same category of another Frank, Boss Level, another Frank Grillo, direct to streaming movie. This one's direct to video. Okay. No. Categorically, these are wildly different films. Boss Level is a very fun Joe Carnahan directed time loop action film that he did a week ago. Definitely worth checking out if you like hard R action movies that are just awesome.
I like it a lot.
And then you have this, which is a true, just direct-to-video schlock.
It stinks!
Where they're trying to get away with as much as they can with absolutely no budget. So they had, my guess as to how this movie was made is they had a script, kind of, and they had 2 weeks to shoot it. And Frank Grillo said, I can be there for this week. You have me for 1 week. And so then they worked the script to see how much they could shoot with him for a week. So he appears in a car, at the beginning, disappears for 20 minutes, shows up in a few scenes, and then he's like still has a presence in the movie for the next second half of the film, but it's like very much this side thing. He's put on the side, but then at the end of the movie they want to make a big deal out of him. As if they had only had him for 1 week. So what can we do for a week? Okay, jump in this car real quick. Say these lines. Okay, we'll spend most of our week in this one environment so we can actually get some stuff we can put in the trailer with you. And then the rest, just totally wasted. And then, several people I've seen in other things before. There's a lady in it that my wife had seen in some TV show. But everyone feels like they are reading their script for the first time. And even the cadence of how they're talking feels like they're speaking English as a second language. Like they don't fully understand the cadence and pacing and inflection of the language, but they know the words. But it's not the case. These are English speakers. We know that, but like everything is delivered super weird. Probably because it was shot under such a time constraint. They just got one take, and you've got a bunch of people like trying to remember their lines. They can't remember how they're supposed to act in the moment, so they're just awkwardly, clunkily saying their lines to kind of get through it.
Wow, that was weird.
And that brings us to Bruce Willis himself, who he is one of the great actors of all time. Certainly great movie star of all time. You could debate, is he one of the great actors of all time? And in the acting category, is he just a great movie star? Certainly one of the great movie stars of the last 40 years. In the action category, John McClane, one of the top 3 action movie lead characters of all time. And then he's in Pulp Fiction, Unbreakable, The Sixth Sense. You can just go down the list of fantastic films that he's been in a variety of genres. Comedy, of course, action, dramas, prestige, smaller things. And then for whatever reason, he's spent the last 10 years just phoning it in. Totally empty. It's clearly Bruce Willis there, but that personality, the energy that he brought is just gone. So in this movie, it's just a low energy performance of him kind of talking slowly and delivering lines with just absolutely no heart in it whatsoever.
I'm sure they said the same thing about me.
There's these moments where he's saying stuff that's supposed to be like a powerful moment, and he's just... it legitimately just feels like he's reading it for the first time, like someone's holding up a cue card right behind the person's head, and he's just saying it and not remotely trying to affect his face, his mannerisms, embody the part, any of the things that make acting. None of it's there. And it's not like he's just relying on an old bag of tricks to try and some people, they give the same performance and everything, and so they're just always kind of, it's their personality. That's not even there. This is just a guy standing there that is Bruce Willis, but everything that made him the movie star is utterly absent from the performance.
How come you suck?
He's not convincing, he's not charming, he's not charismatic. He's just there reminding you of all of the films that he was in the past that were so much better. And that guy is gone. I don't know if they cloned him. I don't know if he's a robot. I don't know what this is. I don't know why it is. I don't know if he just has enormous debt. But even on that level, if you go back and look at his filmography, go back 10 years, he started doing all this direct-to-video crap the same year where he was led kind of a bigger mid-budget action film. Same year he was in G.I. Joe Retaliation. It was like he went straight from like at least box office big stuff directly to the red box. Like he went straight over. There was no like transition. There wasn't like there was a gap. Just straight over to Redbox. Started cranking out like 4 of these per year. Where I don't know. It's weird to see it, and I don't know what's causing it or why he's doing it. But it's his life. He can do whatever he wants. And on a final note, there are two more things to just rag on this film. For a movie that has a very short runtime and a simplistic plot line about making first contact and shooting ray guns at aliens, the plot line is really confusing.
Bogus.
And then there's all these events that happen with the aliens and the factions. Like, nothing is set up. There's just like new plot things. And then there's shots where you're in the middle of a battle and then it'll just have like a silhouette of a person walking down a hallway. And you're like, what does that mean? Who am I even looking at? Where are they headed? What is happening? And it's not because it has this intricate plot. It's just because it's so incompetently told. Or, once again, they had a script, but then they shot it and they tried to rework it to get as much Frank in there, as much Bruce Willis in there as they could. And so by the time you get to the end of it, they're just hodgepodging all this stuff together and it's pretty incoherent, and they didn't shoot the stuff they needed to have a coherent story. And then finally, for a really bad, dumb movie, the dialogue can get really pretentious.
You suck. You suck.
As if it's like being philosophical and debating the merits of first contact and did we cause the war? Did they cause the war? Were we looking for this? Like, it's trying to make a statement without it saying anything at all. It's just a bunch of philosophical jargon that goes absolutely nowhere. So, if I were to score this one, I would give this one a D on the entertainment scale. It's a 4.5. There's no reason to watch this movie whatsoever. It's not so bad it's good. It's so bad it's boring. The only thing that saved it from an F is that it didn't offend me in some regard. It's not a dangerous film in some regard. And I wasn't like, as someone that likes pew pew bang bang movies, I could sit there and be like, okay, this is fine. And it was over in 90 minutes. That's the only thing that really saved it from that F. And this is my type of movie, but it's totally incompetent, incoherent, and depressing to watch Bruce Willis turn into whatever he has become in this movie. That's my take on it. Hopefully you haven't seen it. I sat through it so you don't have to. I keep talking movies too much.